She walked in for a routine checkup, but the CEO doctor nearly collapsed when he saw the ultrasound. Her twins carried his hidden past. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Dr. Alexander Mitchell stood at the window of his penthouse office, overlooking the sprawling medical complex that bore his family name. The Mitchell Medical Center was the crown jewel of his father's legacy, a gleaming testament to 20 years of ruthless expansion and acquisition. Alex traced his finger along the glass, following the outline of the newest wing, the Women's Health Center that had opened just last month. His creation. His redemption. The intercom buzzed, startling him from his thoughts. "Dr. Mitchell, your 9 o'clock is here," his assistant's voice announced. "Thank you, Diane. Give me 5 minutes," he replied, straightening his custom-tailored lab coat. The garment was more ceremonial than functional these days. As CEO, he rarely saw patients anymore, but today was different. Today was Tuesday, the day he reserved for a handful of special cases, a personal reminder of why he'd become a doctor in the first place. Alex glanced at his watch, a Patek Philippe that had been his father's, and picked up the manila folder on his desk. Olivia Collins, 32, presenting with fatigue, dizziness, and suspected pregnancy. He flipped through the preliminary blood work. The hormone levels confirmed it. She was definitely pregnant. He made a mental note to refer her to one of the obstetric specialists after confirming with an ultrasound. The walk from his administrative office to the executive clinic took exactly 3 minutes. He greeted staff with practiced smiles and perfect name recall, a technique his father had drilled into him since childhood. "People give their loyalty to those who remember them, Alexander," the old man had repeated countless times. Alex had learned that lesson well, along with many others. As he approached the private exam room, he reviewed Olivia Collins' file once more. Something about the name tickled at the back of his mind, but he dismissed it. With thousands of patients passing through the medical center's doors each month, coincidental name similarities were common. "Good morning, Ms. Collins," he said as he entered the room, eyes still on the chart. "I'm Dr. Mitchell. I understand you're not feeling well." When he looked up, the file nearly slipped from his hands. Her face was thinner, and her chestnut hair was shorter than he remembered, but those amber eyes, they were unmistakable. 5 years had passed, but he would have recognized Olivia anywhere. "Hello, Alex," she said quietly, perched on the edge of the examination table in a thin hospital gown. Her hands were folded protectively over her stomach. Alex closed the door behind him, pulse quickening. "Olivia," he managed, professional demeanor temporarily abandoned. I didn't realize it was you." "I didn't realize it would be you either," she replied, her voice steady but strained. "Your assistant just said I'd be seeing the head of the department. I guess congratulations are in order. CEO now?" He nodded, trying to regain his composure. "For the past 2 years, my father passed away." "I'm sorry to hear that," she said, and he could tell she meant it, despite everything. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them, 5 years of unspoken words pressing against the sterile walls of the examination room. Alex cleared his throat, retreating behind his professional mask. "Your blood work indicates pregnancy," he said, forcing his voice to remain clinical. "About 10 weeks along, based on the HCG levels. We should do an ultrasound to confirm." Olivia nodded, her eyes never leaving his face. "Yes, I know I'm pregnant." Something in her tone made him pause. "You've already had an ultrasound?" "No." She shook her head slightly. "This is my first appointment. I've just been through this before." Alex's mind raced, calculating backwards from the current date to when they'd last seen each other. 5 years ago. Almost exactly 5 years ago. "Alex," she said softly, seeing the realization dawning on his face, "there's something you should know." His pager buzzed at that exact moment, the shrill sound slicing through the tension in the room. Emergency in the cardiac unit. His attendance required immediately. Alex stared at the device, momentarily frozen between past and present. "I have to go," he said, hating himself for the relief he felt at the interruption. "I'll have Dr. Reynolds come in to perform the ultrasound. She's excellent, one of our best." "Alex," Olivia called as he reached for the door. "We need to talk. It's important." He paused, hand on the doorknob. "I know. I'll come find you after this emergency. I promise." The cardiac emergency turned out to be a false alarm, a monitoring system malfunction rather than a patient in distress, but it still took 40 minutes to sort out. When Alex finally returned to the executive clinic, the examination room was empty. Dr. Reynolds intercepted him in the hallway, a peculiar expression on her face. "I did the ultrasound for Ms. Collins," she said, handing him a folder. "And?" Alex prompted, taking the file but not opening it yet. Dr. Reynolds hesitated. "She's carrying twins, healthy development, strong heartbeats. But she seemed upset when I told her, not the usual reaction for a first ultrasound." "Thank you, Marisa. Did she say where she was going?" "She said she needed some air. I think she might be in the garden courtyard." Alex found Olivia exactly where Dr. Reynolds had suggested, sitting on a bench beneath the Japanese maple tree that formed the centerpiece of the hospital's meditation garden. She was fully dressed now, staring at something in her hands. As he approached, he realized it was a photograph. "Twins," he said, stopping a few feet away from her. "Congratulations." Olivia looked up, her eyes red-rimmed but dry. "History repeating itself," she said cryptically, holding out the photograph to him. Alex took it, unsure what to expect. The image showed two little girls, perhaps 4 years old, with chestnut hair and a familiar dimpled smile. His smile, standing in front of a birthday cake with 5 candles. "Their 5th birthday was last month," Olivia said quietly. The world seemed to tilt beneath his feet. Alex sank onto the bench beside her, staring at the photograph of 2 children who had his mother's eyes and his smile. 5 years, he whispered. "You were pregnant when you left." "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Olivia looked at him then. Years of hurt and anger and lonely nights crystallized in her gaze. "You made your choice very clear, Alex. You chose the hospital, your father's approval, the Mitchell legacy. There wasn't room for me, let alone children. You never gave me the chance to choose them," he countered, a flicker of anger breaking through his shock. "Would you have?" she challenged. "If I had told you I was pregnant, would you have chosen differently? Would you have walked away from everything your father planned for you?" Alex opened his mouth to say yes, of course he would have, but the words died on his lips. Would he have? 5 years ago, with his father still alive, the succession plan in motion, and the board watching his every move, would he have chosen Olivia and their unborn children over the Mitchell legacy? He couldn't honestly say. "I don't know," Alex finally admitted, the truth painful but necessary. "I'd like to think I would have, but I can't be sure." Olivia nodded, accepting his honesty with a sad smile. "That's why I left. I couldn't bear to watch you choose the hospital over us, and I couldn't be the reason you resented your children for derailing your ambitions. So you made the choice for me," Alex said, a statement rather than a question. He looked back at the photograph, studying the faces of the daughters he'd never known. "Twins," he murmured. "What are their names?" "Emma and Charlotte," Olivia replied. "Emma's older by 8 minutes and never lets her sister forget it. Charlotte is more thoughtful, always watching and analyzing before she speaks." "Like my mother," Alex said softly. "She was the same way." He looked up from the photograph. "They know about me?" Olivia shook her head. "Not specifically. They know their father is a doctor who lives far away. I've never lied to them, but they're still young. They haven't asked for details yet." A thought suddenly occurred to Alex. "You're back in the city now?" "Yes, since last month. I got a position teaching biology at Westridge Academy." "The private school? That's impressive." It came with good benefits, she said, gesturing vaguely toward the hospital, including health insurance through your medical center, ironically. Alex handed the photograph back to her, their fingers brushing momentarily. And now you're pregnant again, he said, the implications of their current situation washing over him. Is there someone in your life now? Olivia's eyes widened slightly before understanding dawned. No, Alex, there's no one else. She took a deep breath. The twins I'm carrying now, they're yours too. What? Alex stared at her, certain he'd misheard. That's not possible. We haven't seen each other in 5 years. Remember the medical conference in Chicago 3 months ago? The Advancement in Genetic Medicine Symposium? Alex's mind raced back. The conference had been a blur of presentations, networking events, and late-night strategy sessions with the board members who had accompanied him. But there had been one night, one moment of weakness in a hotel bar when he'd looked up and seen a familiar face across the room. You were there, he said slowly. We had drinks. We talked about how much had changed, about your father passing, about the medical center's expansion, Olivia finished for him. And then we had more drinks in your suite. The memories flooded back, her skin against his, the familiar scent of her hair, the way time seemed to both stand still and rush forward all at once. They'd fallen back into each other as if the 5 years apart had been 5 minutes. I left before you woke up, she continued when he remained silent. It seemed easier that way, for both of us. And now you're pregnant, with twins, again. The statistical improbability of it struck him, doctor, that he was. Identical or fraternal? Fraternal, just like Emma and Charlotte. The tendency for hyperovulation is genetic, apparently. On your mother's side? Yes. Olivia tucked the photograph back into her purse. I didn't come here to complicate your life, Alex. When I made the appointment, I had no idea you'd be the doctor I'd see. I'm fully prepared to handle this pregnancy on my own, just like last time. Alex ran a hand through his hair, struggling to process everything. In the span of 20 minutes, he'd discovered he was the father of twin daughters and another set of twins on the way. His carefully structured world was tilting on its axis. Does anyone else know? About the girls, I mean? My parents, my sister, a few close friends? Olivia shrugged. We live in Oak Ridge now, about an hour from the city. It's a small community, but people there mind their own business. And the girls, Emma and Charlotte, are they healthy? Happy? Very, Olivia said, her expression softening. They're amazing, Alex. Smart, curious, kind. They love science already. Charlotte dissected a flower last week and labeled all the parts correctly. Pride swelled unexpectedly in Alex's chest. His daughters were budding scientists. Of course they were. I want to meet them, he said suddenly, surprising himself with the certainty in his voice. Olivia looked startled. Alex, I don't think that's a good idea. Not yet. They don't understand. I don't mean today, he clarified. I need time to adjust to all this. But they're my daughters, Olivia. I've already missed 5 years. I don't want to miss any more. And what happens when they get attached to you, and then you disappear because the hospital needs you? What happens when board meetings are scheduled during their school plays? What happens when they realize they're competing with the Mitchell legacy for their father's attention? Olivia's voice quavered slightly, revealing the fear beneath her composure. That won't happen, Alex insisted. You can't promise that. No, but I can try to be better than my father was. He stood up, needing to move as his thoughts raced. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, Olivia. My father's death, it changed things. Changed me. How? She looked up at him, skepticism evident in her expression. Alex paced a few steps, trying to articulate the shift that had occurred within him over the past 2 years. My father built this place through sheer force of will. He was brilliant, driven, and utterly ruthless. Nothing came before the hospital. Not his health, not his marriage. certainly not his son. He stopped, looking back at her. I watched him die alone, Olivia. My mother was long gone, I was estranged, and even his closest colleagues were afraid of him rather than attached to him. His legacy was this building, these walls and machines. Nothing more. And that scared you, Olivia said softly. It terrified me, Alex admitted. I looked at my life and realized I was on the exact same path. So I've been trying to change things. I actually see patients now, 1 day a week. I've restructured the board to include more physicians and fewer businessmen. I turned down 3 acquisition opportunities because they weren't in the best interest of patient care. Those sound like professional changes, Olivia observed. What about personal ones? Alex grimaced slightly. Those have been harder. I'm still married to this place in many ways, but I've been trying to reconnect with old friends, build a life outside these walls. He sat back down beside her. Finding out I'm a father, it changes everything. Again. It should, Olivia agreed. Being a parent means putting someone else's needs before your own. Always. I want to learn, Alex said, meeting her gaze directly. I want to be part of their lives, all 4 of them, he added, glancing at her stomach. I can't promise I'll be perfect at it, but I promise I'll try. Really try. Olivia studied his face, searching for something. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. We can take it slowly, she offered. Perhaps you could come for dinner this weekend? Meet the girls in a casual setting just as a friend of mine. We don't have to tell them anything yet. Relief washed over Alex. It was more than he'd dared hope for. I'd like that. And we need to discuss these 2, Olivia added, placing a hand on her stomach. Your input, your involvement. We need to be clear about expectations. Agreed, Alex said. Though right now, my only expectation is getting to know my daughters and helping you through this pregnancy in whatever way you'll allow. The sound of an incoming page interrupted the moment. Alex checked the device. Another emergency, this one genuine. He hesitated, torn between duty and the conversation they were having. Go, Olivia said, understanding in her eyes. Your patients need you. This discussion isn't over, Alex promised, already backing toward the hospital entrance. Can I call you tonight? To arrange dinner details? Olivia nodded, taking a business card from her purse and writing a number on the back. My cell. Text first, so I know it's you? Alex took the card, their fingers brushing again. Thank you, he said simply, though the words seemed woefully inadequate for the gift she was offering him, a chance to know his children, to be their father. As he turned to leave, his thoughts already racing ahead to what this meant for his future. For their future, Olivia called after him. Alex, one more thing you should know. He paused, looking back at her. Emma has your father's laugh, she said with a small smile. It's uncanny, really. And Charlotte has your mother's eyes, the exact same shade of blue. The unexpected detail hit him like a physical blow. His daughters carried pieces of his parents, the good parts, he hoped, forward into the world. Somehow, that made everything more real. The emergency that pulled Alex away from Olivia was severe. A multiple-car accident had sent 7 victims to the trauma center simultaneously, 2 in critical condition. Despite his administrative role, Alex found himself in surgical scrubs, working alongside the trauma team to save a young woman with a ruptured spleen. 3 hours passed in the focused intensity of the operating room before he could come up for air. As he scrubbed out, thoughts of Olivia and his newly discovered daughters flooded back. He checked his watch. Nearly 2 in the afternoon. She would be long gone from the hospital by now. He pulled his phone from his locker, typed a brief message, then deleted it. What could he possibly say that would adequately convey the earthquake happening in his mind? You look like you've seen a ghost, said a voice behind him. Alex turned to find Dr. Marissa Reynolds watching him with concerned eyes. As the head of obstetrics and one of the few people at the hospital who had known him before he became CEO, Marissa was perhaps the closest thing Alex had to a friend on staff. "Something like that," he replied, closing his locker. "Does it have anything to do with Olivia Collins?" Marissa asked directly. When Alex's head snapped up in surprise, she shrugged. "She seemed rattled after the ultrasound, and you were asking about her specifically. I'm not blind, Alex." He hesitated, then decided that if he was going to navigate this situation, he needed at least one ally. "She's an old friend. We have history." "I gathered as much." Marissa crossed her arms. She asked a lot of questions about the twins she's carrying. Very specific questions about genetic markers, inheritance patterns, the kind of questions someone might ask if they were comparing this pregnancy to a previous one. Alex said nothing, but his expression must have confirmed her suspicions. "Ah," Marissa nodded. "Well, doctor-patient confidentiality prevents me from discussing her case further. But as your friend, I'm here if you need to talk." "Thank you," Alex said, genuinely grateful for her discretion. "I might take you up on that soon. Right now, I need to process some things." Instead of returning to his office, Alex found himself walking to the pediatric ward, a part of the hospital he rarely visited. The Mitchell Children's Center occupied the East Wing, a bright, colorful counterpoint to the more austere adult facilities. Alex nodded to surprised staff members as he made his way through the corridors, eventually stopping at the observation window of the nursery. 6 newborns lay in their bassinets, tiny lives just beginning. Alex studied their faces, trying to imagine what Emma and Charlotte had looked like as infants. Had they had hair when they were born? Which one had cried more? Had they been identical at first glance, or had their unique personalities shown through from the beginning? "Thinking of starting a family, Dr. Mitchell?" asked the nursery nurse, noticing his prolonged observation. "Something like that," Alex replied, the irony almost making him laugh aloud. He had started a family 5 years ago without even knowing it, and now that family was expanding, whether he was ready or not. He turned away from the nursery window and headed toward his office, mind racing. The Mitchell Medical Center had been his entire focus for so long that he'd never seriously contemplated fatherhood. His own childhood, spent in the shadow of his brilliant but emotionally distant father, hadn't exactly provided an exemplary model. What kind of father would he be? What kind of father did he want to be? By the time he reached his office, Alex had made a decision. He buzzed for his assistant. "Diane, I need to clear my schedule for this weekend," he said when she appeared in the doorway. "This weekend?" Diane's eyebrows rose in surprise. Alex Mitchell had worked every weekend since becoming CEO. "The entire weekend?" "Yes, personal matter, and I'll need to adjust my Tuesday clinic schedule going forward. I still want to see patients, but I need more flexibility." "I'll see what I can arrange," Diane said, clearly curious but professional enough not to pry. "Oh, and the board wants to finalize the decision about the new cardiovascular center by Monday. Mr. Peterson called twice already." "Tell Peterson I'll review the proposals tonight and give him my decision tomorrow," Alex replied, already turning to his computer. "That's all for now, thank you." Once alone, Alex pulled up the hospital's secure patient database. He hesitated only briefly before typing Olivia Collins into the search field. Her file appeared on his screen, the preliminary blood work, Dr. Reynolds's ultrasound report, and the basic intake information. Address: 42 Maple Street, Oak Ridge. Phone: the same number she'd written on her card. Emergency contact: Teresa Collins, listed as mother. Alex closed the file, feeling slightly guilty for the invasion of privacy, though as hospital CEO he had legitimate access to all patient records. He picked up the card Olivia had given him and finally typed out a message. "Sorry about the emergency. Would Saturday evening work for dinner? Alex." The response came faster than he expected. "Saturday at 6. The girl's bedtime is 8:30, so that gives us a couple of hours. Casual dress. No gifts necessary." "No gifts?" Alex typed back. "Trust me," came the reply. "The last thing they need is someone else bringing them presents. They're spoiled enough by my parents." Alex smiled at that, trying to imagine his daughters being doted on by grandparents. His own parents had never been the indulgent type. His father had believed firmly in building character through discipline and achievement, while his mother, though warmer, had followed his father's lead in most matters of child rearing. "Understood. See you Saturday at 6, he replied, already mentally calculating how long the drive to Oak Ridge would take in weekend traffic. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, decisions, and paperwork, the usual administrative tasks that consumed Alex's life as CEO. But for the first time in years, his mind wasn't fully engaged with the hospital's concerns. Instead, it kept drifting to two little girls with his smile and his mother's eyes, and to the woman who had raised them alone while he climbed the corporate ladder. By 6 o'clock, Alex had made little progress on his actual work, but had come to several important realizations about his personal situation. He gathered the files he needed to review at home, said goodnight to Diane, and headed to the executive parking garage. As he drove through the city toward his penthouse apartment, Alex found himself taking a detour. Without consciously deciding to do so, he pulled into the parking lot of an upscale toy store that he passed regularly but had never visited. Inside, he wandered through aisles of dolls, games, and stuffed animals, feeling completely out of his element. "Can I help you find something?" asked a cheerful sales associate. "I'm, looking for something for twin girls," Alex said, realizing how little information he had to go on. "They're 5 years old and apparently interested in science." The associate's face lit up. "Oh, we have some wonderful educational toys in that age range. Follow me." 20 minutes later, Alex left the store with a beginner's microscope set, a build-your-own robot kit, and 2 identical stuffed animals, plush owls wearing tiny lab coats and safety goggles. Despite Olivia's "no gifts" instruction, he couldn't bring himself to arrive empty-handed for his first meeting with his daughters. Back at his apartment, Alex placed the wrapped packages on his kitchen counter and poured himself a glass of scotch. The silence of his immaculate, rarely used living space seemed more pronounced than usual. He tried to imagine it filled with children's voices, toys scattered across the polished hardwood floors, artwork taped to the refrigerator door. The mental image was so foreign it was almost comical. His phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "Just FYI, Emma is allergic to strawberries and Charlotte doesn't eat meat, in case you were wondering about dinner." Alex stared at the message, absorbing these small but significant details about his daughters. A vegetarian at 5 years old? And food allergies, something else he would need to be aware of. Parenting, he was quickly realizing, involved 1,000 tiny but crucial pieces of information. "Thank you for letting me know," he texted back. "Is there anything else I should be aware of before Saturday?" The reply came a few minutes later. "They're both shy with new people at first, Charlotte especially. Don't take it personally if they're quiet. Also, they love to ask questions, endless questions. Be prepared." Alex smiled at that. Curiosity was a Mitchell trait, certainly. His father had always said that good doctors never stop asking questions. Perhaps his daughters had inherited more than just his physical features. "I'll be ready for the interrogation," he replied. Then, after a moment's hesitation, he added, "Thank you, Olivia, for giving me this chance." There was a longer pause before her response appeared. "They deserve to know you, Alex. We'll see how it goes." It wasn't exactly warm encouragement, but it was honest. And after everything that had happened between them, honesty was probably the best foundation they could build upon. Alex set his phone aside and opened his laptop, determined to focus on work for at least a few hours. The cardiovascular center proposal was important, a multi-million-dollar project that would either elevate the hospital's cardiac program to national prominence or drain resources from other crucial departments, depending on how it was implemented. But as he reviewed the financial projections and architectural plans, Alex's mind kept drifting to Oak Ridge, to a house on Maple Street where 2 little girls who shared his DNA were probably getting ready for bed. Were they having a bath now? Being read a bedtime story? Did they say prayers before sleeping, as his mother had taught him to do? So many questions. So many things he didn't know about his own children. Saturday couldn't come soon enough. The remainder of the week crawled by with excruciating slowness. Alex threw himself into work with renewed intensity, partly to compensate for his upcoming weekend absence and partly to keep his mind occupied. By Friday afternoon, he had cleared his desk of all pending matters, finalized his decision on the cardiovascular center, yes to the program, no to the extravagant standalone building the board wanted, and even managed to delegate several ongoing projects to his department heads. "You're sure you're feeling all right?" Diane asked as she collected the signed authorization forms from his desk. "I can't remember the last time you left the office before 7 on a Friday." "I'm fine," Alex assured her. "Just trying out this work-life balance thing everyone keeps talking about." "Well, it's about time," his assistant replied with a small smile. "Have a good weekend, Dr. Mitchell." As Alex drove home, he found himself mentally rehearsing what he would say to Emma and Charlotte when they met. Should he be formal? Casual? Should he ask about their interests right away or let them warm up to him first? The uncertainty was unfamiliar and uncomfortable. In his professional life, Alex always knew exactly how to behave, what role to play. But father meeting his children for the first time wasn't a role he'd ever prepared for. His phone rang, the car's Bluetooth system displaying Marissa Reynolds' name. "Dr. Reynolds," he answered, grateful for the distraction from his thoughts. "Alex, I've got Olivia Collins' full genetic screening results," Marissa said without preamble. "I thought you'd want to know right away. Everything looks perfectly normal. Both fetuses are developing exactly as they should be." Relief washed over him. "Thank you. That's good news. I also scheduled her for a follow-up in 4 weeks, as standard protocol. I'll be handling her care personally from now on." "I appreciate that," Alex said sincerely. There was a pause before Marissa continued, her tone shifting from professional to personal. "Look, Alex, I don't know exactly what's going on between you two, but as her doctor, I should tell you that her blood pressure was slightly elevated at her last visit. Nothing concerning yet, but something to monitor, especially in a twin pregnancy." "Is she under stress?" Alex asked, immediately concerned. "I couldn't say officially," Marissa replied carefully, "but off the record? Yes, I think so. She mentioned being new to her teaching position and having a lot on her plate at home." "I see," Alex said, guilt tugging at him. How much of that stress was due to his sudden reappearance in her life? "Thanks for letting me know. I'll keep an eye on that." After ending the call, Alex made a mental note to ask Olivia about her workload and stress levels. If the pregnancy was putting her health at risk, perhaps he could help, financially or otherwise. Though he suspected she'd be too proud to accept monetary assistance from him, given their history. At home, Alex spent the evening preparing for the next day's visit. He rewrapped the gifts he'd bought, ensuring the paper was neatly creased and the bows perfectly tied. He researched Oak Ridge online, learning that it was a small, tight-knit community known for its good schools and family-friendly atmosphere, exactly the kind of place Olivia would choose to raise their children. He also called his lawyer, leaving a message about updating his will. If he had 4 children in the world, they deserved to be properly provided for, regardless of how his relationship with Olivia evolved. Sleep came fitfully that night, his dreams filled with faceless children calling for him from distant rooms he couldn't reach. Saturday morning dawned clear and bright. Alex woke early, went for a run to burn off nervous energy, then spent an inordinate amount of time deciding what to wear. Too formal would make him seem stiff and unapproachable. Too casual might appear disrespectful. He finally settled on dark jeans and a light blue button-down shirt, approachable but still put together. The drive to Oak Ridge took just under an hour. As his GPS guided him through the quaint downtown area and into a neighborhood of modest but well-maintained homes, Alex felt a growing tightness in his chest. By the time he pulled up in front of 42 Maple Street, a charming two-story house with blue shutters and a wraparound porch. His heart was pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. "Get it together, Mitchell," he muttered to himself, collecting the gift bags from the passenger seat. "They're 5-year-old girls, not the hospital board." But in many ways, this meeting felt more consequential than any board presentation he'd ever given. These little girls would form opinions about him today that might shape their relationship for years to come. Before he could overthink it further, Alex walked up the stone path to the front door and rang the bell. From inside, he heard the patter of small feet and a child's voice calling, "Someone's here, Mommy!" The door swung open to reveal Olivia, dressed in a simple sundress, her hair loose around her shoulders. Behind her, partially hidden behind her legs, were 2 identical little girls in matching purple dresses, their chestnut hair pulled back in neat ponytails. "Hello, Alex," Olivia said with a small smile. "Right on time." "I try to be punctual," he replied, suddenly aware that he was clutching the gift bags too tightly. "Thank you for inviting me." Olivia stepped aside to let him enter. "Girls, this is my friend Dr. Mitchell. He works at the big hospital in the city. Dr. Mitchell, these are my daughters, Emma and Charlotte." Alex crouched down to their eye level, his medical training automatically kicking in as he assessed them. Identical faces, though one, Emma, he presumed from the slightly bolder stance, had a small freckle near her left eyebrow that her sister lacked. Both had his mother's startlingly blue eyes, just as Olivia had said. Both were watching him with identical expressions of cautious curiosity. "Hello, Emma and Charlotte," he said, keeping his voice gentle. "It's very nice to meet you. You can call me Alex if you'd like." Emma stepped forward first, as he'd expected. "Are you a doctor who does operations?" she asked. "Sometimes," Alex replied. "I mostly help run the hospital now, but I still see patients once a week." "Have you ever taken out someone's appendix?" Emma pressed, clearly fascinated by the gruesome possibilities. "I have, actually. Several times." Charlotte, still partially behind her sister, spoke up in a softer voice. "Does it hurt when you take out an appendix?" "Not for the patient," Alex assured her. "They're asleep the whole time, and we give them medicine so they don't feel pain when they wake up." Both girls seemed to consider this information carefully. Then Emma pointed to the gift bags in his hand. "Are those for us?" "Emma," Olivia admonished gently, "remember our manners." "It's all right," Alex said, smiling as he held out the bags. "Yes, these are for you. I know your mom said no gifts, but I couldn't resist." The girls looked to Olivia for permission, and when she nodded, they took the bags with excited thank yous and immediately sat on the floor to open them. Their synchronicity was remarkable. They removed the tissue paper in almost identical motions, then gasped in unison as they discovered the contents. "A microscope!" Emma exclaimed, holding up the box. "Robot parts," Charlotte added, her shyness momentarily forgotten in her excitement. "And look, owls with science clothes," Emma said, pulling out the stuffed animals. Without hesitation, she handed the one from her bag to Charlotte and kept the other for herself, a practiced exchange that spoke of years of sharing. "What do we say?" Olivia prompted. "Thank you, Dr. Alex," they chorused, looking up at him with genuine smiles that made his heart constrict. "You're very welcome," he managed, suddenly overwhelmed by the simple joy on their faces, faces that reflected his own in 100 tiny ways. "Can we play with them now, Mommy?" Charlotte asked, already examining the microscope box. "After dinner," Olivia said firmly. "Why don't you two wash your hands while I show Dr. Mitchell around? Then we can eat." The girls reluctantly set their new treasures aside and scampered down the hallway. Once they were out of earshot, Olivia turned to Alex with raised eyebrows. "So much for no gifts necessary," she said, though her tone was more amused than annoyed. "Sorry," Alex said, "not sorry at all. I couldn't help myself, and they seemed to like them." "They loved them," Olivia corrected. "You certainly know the way to a scientist's heart, no matter how small that scientist might be." She led him through the house, a cozy, lived-in space that was neat but not pristine. Children's artwork covered the refrigerator, books and educational toys filled the shelves, and photographs of the twins at various ages adorned the walls. Alex paused at each one, drinking in the images of his daughter's lives. First steps, birthday parties, preschool graduations, all moments he'd missed. "They're amazing, Olivia," he said softly. "You've done an incredible job with them." "They make it easy," she replied, though he could see the pride in her eyes. "They're good kids, smart, kind, curious. Sometimes too curious for their own good, but I guess that's genetic." "On both sides," Alex agreed. He gestured to a photo of the girls in Halloween costumes, lab coats with stethoscopes around their necks. "Doctors?" "Marine biologists, actually," Olivia corrected with a smile. "They went through a serious ocean phase last year. This year it's space and dinosaurs." They reached the kitchen, where a pot of something delicious-smelling simmered on the stove. "Hope you like vegetable lasagna," Olivia said. "It's one of the few dishes that pleases everyone in this house." "Sounds perfect," Alex replied, leaning against the counter. "Can I help with anything?" "You can set the table if you'd like. Plates are in that cabinet, silverware in the drawer below." As Alex arranged plates and forks on the small kitchen table, he was struck by the domesticity of the moment. How different his life might have been if he'd made different choices 5 years ago. He might have been setting this table every night, might have known which cabinet held the drinking glasses, might have been part of the daily rhythm of this household. The twins returned, their hands still slightly damp from washing, and dinner commenced. Alex found himself subject to a barrage of questions that would have made a seasoned journalist proud. "Do you live in a big house? Have you ever seen someone's brain? Do you have any pets? Why is your watch so shiny? Do doctors get scared when there's lots of blood?" Alex answered each query patiently, delighted by their curiosity and intelligence. Charlotte, initially the quieter of the two, gradually became more animated as the meal progressed, especially when the conversation turned to dinosaurs. "Velociraptors weren't really that big," she informed him seriously. "The movies got it wrong. They were only about this tall." She held her hand about waist-high. "But they were still very smart," Emma added. "Their brain-to-body ratio was really high. That's why they were good hunters." "You two know a lot about dinosaurs," Alex commented, impressed. "Mom takes us to the Natural History Museum," Charlotte explained. "We've been 3 times this year." "4 times," Emma corrected. "You forgot when Grandma and Grandpa visited." "Oh yeah," Charlotte nodded. 4 times. Throughout the meal, Alex caught Olivia watching him interact with the girls, her expression a mix of caution and something softer he couldn't quite identify. When the twins began debating whether diplodocuses could swim, Emma thought yes, Charlotte firmly believed no. Olivia touched his arm lightly. "They're always like this," she said quietly. "Endless energy, endless questions." "They're perfect," Alex replied, equally soft. "Absolutely perfect." After dinner, true to her word, Olivia allowed the girls to open their new toys. Alex found himself on the living room floor, helping them assemble the microscope while Olivia cleared the table. The simple plastic instrument was nothing compared to the sophisticated equipment at his hospital, but the girls' excitement made it seem like the most advanced technology in the world. "Look, look!" Emma exclaimed, peering through the eyepiece at a strand of her own hair. "I can see all the little bumps." "Those are called cuticles," Alex explained, adjusting the focus slightly. "They protect the inner part of the hair shaft." Charlotte was carefully arranging other items to examine. A leaf, a small feather they'd found in the yard, a piece of colorful fabric from Olivia's sewing basket. Alex showed them how to prepare a simple slide, explaining each step with the same care he would use when teaching medical residents. "You're really good at explaining things," Charlotte said, looking up at him with those startlingly familiar blue eyes. "Better than our science teacher at school." "Thank you," Alex replied, unexpectedly touched by the simple compliment. I've had a lot of practice teaching young doctors. Maybe you could come to our class sometime, Emma suggested eagerly. For Career Day. We're having it next month. You could bring doctor stuff and show everyone. The invitation caught Alex off guard. I'd like that, he said, meaning it completely. If your mom thinks it's a good idea. Mom, Emma called out. Can Dr. Alex come to our Career Day? Olivia appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. We'll have to see, sweetie. Dr. Alex is very busy running his hospital. I could make time, Alex said quickly, not wanting Olivia to think he was unwilling. Really, I'd be happy to. Olivia gave him a measuring look, then nodded. We'll talk about it later. The next hour passed in a blur of microscope slides, robot assembly, and impromptu science lessons. Alex found himself completely absorbed in the girls' world, their enthusiasm infectious. When Olivia finally announced that it was bath time, both twins protested vigorously. 5 more minutes, please, Emma begged. We're almost done with the robot arm. We can finish it tomorrow, Olivia said firmly. It's already past your normal bath time. But Dr. Alex might not be here tomorrow, Charlotte pointed out with impeccable logic. Alex felt a pang at her words. She was right, of course. He wasn't a regular fixture in their lives. Not yet, anyway. The robot will wait, he assured them. And maybe I can come back another time to help you finish it. This promise seemed to satisfy them. With minimal additional protest, they gathered their new toys and carried them carefully to their bedroom. Before following them upstairs for bath duty, Olivia paused in the living room doorway. You're good with them, she said, sounding almost surprised. They don't usually warm up to strangers so quickly. I don't think I've ever enjoyed myself more, Alex admitted. They're incredible, Olivia. So smart, so full of life. They get that from you, you know, she said, a hint of wistfulness in her tone. That intense focus when they're learning something new. The way they can't let go of a question until they have an answer. Pure Mitchell traits. Before Alex could respond, Emma called down for her mother, and Olivia headed upstairs. Left alone in the living room, Alex wandered around, examining the family photos more closely. There were none of Olivia pregnant, he noticed. Had she been alone during that time too? The thought sent another wave of guilt through him. On the mantelpiece he found a framed drawing, clearly done by one of the girls, of 3 stick figures holding hands. A taller one labeled Mommy, and 2 smaller ones labeled Emma and Charlotte. No father figure in the picture. Alex wondered how often the girls had asked about him over the years, what Olivia had told them. The sound of splashing and giggles drifted down from upstairs, along with Olivia's gentle admonishments about getting water on the bathroom floor. Such a normal, everyday moment, but one that squeezed Alex's heart with its simple intimacy. This was family life, real and messy and wonderful, so different from his sterile apartment and the cold efficiency of the hospital. 20 minutes later, the girls reappeared in matching pajamas, their hair damp and faces shining from their baths. They smelled of strawberry shampoo and mint toothpaste as they climbed onto the couch beside Alex. Mom says we can each pick 1 book for story time, Emma announced. And you can read to us if you want. I'd be honored, Alex replied, meaning it sincerely. Charlotte handed him a well-worn copy of The Magic School Bus Explores the Solar System, while Emma selected Ada Twist Scientist. Of course, they would choose science-themed bedtime stories. Olivia sat in an armchair across from them, watching as Alex began to read. His deep voice filled the cozy living room, bringing Ms. Frizzle's space adventures to life. The girls leaned against him naturally, one on each side, pointing out their favorite illustrations and asking questions about whether humans would really live on Mars someday. By the time he finished the second book, Charlotte was yawning, her head heavy against his arm. Emma, though still alert, had her thumb partially in her mouth. A sleepy habit, Alex guessed. All right, scientists, Olivia said gently. Time for bed. Can Dr. Alex tuck us in? Emma asked, the request so natural and yet so monumentally significant that it momentarily robbed Alex of speech. Olivia hesitated, then nodded. If he'd like to. I would, Alex managed, his voice rougher than usual. Lead the way. The girl's bedroom was exactly what he might have expected. 2 twin beds with matching purple comforters, walls decorated with solar system decals and dinosaur posters, bookshelves overflowing with children's science encyclopedias and nature guides. A nightlight projected stars onto the ceiling, turning the room into a miniature planetarium. Charlotte climbed into the bed on the left, which had a stuffed triceratops on the pillow, while Emma took the right side bed with its stuffed dolphin. Alex helped tuck the covers around them, an act so parental it made his throat tighten. "Thank you for the microscope," Charlotte said sleepily. "It's the best present ever." "And the robot," Emma added with a yawn. "Will you really come back and help us finish it?" "I promise," Alex said, the words emerging with absolute certainty. "And maybe next time I can bring some really cool slides for your microscope. Things you can't see with the naked eye." "Like bacteria?" Emma asked hopefully. "Maybe. We'll see." He stood awkwardly for a moment, unsure of the proper protocol. Should he kiss them goodnight? That seemed too presumptuous for a first meeting. Instead, he simply said, "Good night, Emma. Good night, Charlotte. I had a wonderful time with you both today." "Good night, Dr. Alex," they chorused, already drifting toward sleep. In the hallway, Olivia was waiting, a complex emotion playing across her features. "They like you," she said softly. "I knew they would." "They're the most amazing children I've ever met," Alex replied with complete honesty. "And that's not just paternal bias talking." Olivia smiled slightly at that. "Come downstairs. We should talk while they're falling asleep." In the kitchen, she poured 2 cups of decaf coffee and led him to the back porch, where 2 Adirondack chairs faced the small, neatly kept backyard. The evening was warm, fireflies beginning to blink in the gathering dusk. "So," Olivia said after they'd settled into the chairs, "what did you think of your first day of fatherhood?" "Overwhelming," Alex admitted. "Wonderful. Terrifying." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I keep thinking about all the moments I've missed. Their first words, first steps, birthdays and holidays. I can never get those back." "No," Olivia agreed quietly. "You can't. But there are plenty of firsts still to come. First day of middle school, first science fair, first broken heart. I want to be there for those," Alex said with sudden fierceness. "All of them. And for the everyday moments too. The homework, the scraped knees, the nightmares." Olivia turned to study his face in the fading light. "You're serious about this?" "Completely," he confirmed. "I know I don't deserve to waltz in after 5 years and claim father's rights. I know I have to earn my place in their lives. But I want that chance, Olivia. I want to be their father, not just biologically but in all the ways that matter." "And what about the hospital?" she asked, the question gentle but pointed. "Your father's legacy? The Mitchell name plastered on the building?" Alex had been thinking about this very question for days. "I'm not walking away from the hospital," he said honestly. "I can't. Too many people depend on me there. But I can find balance. I've already started delegating more, restructuring my schedule. I won't be the kind of father who misses recitals for board meetings or cancels weekend plans for work emergencies." "That sounds good in theory," Olivia said, skepticism evident in her voice. "But I've seen you in crisis mode, Alex. When the hospital needs you, everything else disappears." "I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago," Alex insisted. "My father's death changed me, changed my perspective. I don't want his legacy. A building with our name on it, but no one who truly cares when we're gone." He leaned forward, trying to convey his sincerity. "What good is professional success if I end up alone like he did? If my children don't know me?" Olivia was quiet for a long moment, sipping her coffee and watching the fireflies dance across the yard. "I believe you want to change," she finally said. "But wanting and doing are different things. I need to protect Emma and Charlotte. I can't let them get attached to you only to have you disappear when things get difficult." I understand that, Alex acknowledged. So let me prove it to you. To them. I'm not asking to be introduced as their father right away. Let me earn that title. Let me spend time with them, be a consistent presence in their lives, show up when I say I will. And what would that look like exactly? Olivia asked, practical as always. Alex had given this considerable thought. I could come on weekends, maybe once during the week for dinner if that works with your schedule. We could take things slowly, get to know each other. Then, when you think the time is right, we could tell them the truth. And the new twins? Olivia's hand moved unconsciously to her still flat stomach. What role do you want with them? I want to be fully involved from the beginning, Alex said without hesitation. I want to be at doctor's appointments, ultrasounds, birthing classes. I want to be in the delivery room if you'll allow it. I don't want to miss a single moment this time around. Olivia smiled faintly. Careful what you wish for. Pregnancy isn't all magical moments and butterfly kicks. It's also swollen ankles, hormonal mood swings, and projectile vomiting. I'm a doctor, Alex reminded her. I've seen worse. Not from someone carrying your children, you haven't, Olivia countered, but there was a hint of amusement in her voice now. They fell silent again, the only sounds the distant hum of traffic and the soft chorus of crickets. Alex watched Olivia's profile in the deepening twilight, struck by how little and yet how much she had changed in 5 years. The physical differences were minimal, a few fine lines around her eyes perhaps, her hair styled differently. But there was a quiet confidence about her now, a centeredness he didn't remember from before. Motherhood had transformed her, he realized. While he'd been climbing the corporate ladder, she'd been building something far more valuable. Do you resent me? He asked suddenly, needing to know. For not being there? For making you do it all alone? Olivia considered the question carefully. I did, at first, she admitted. When I was 8 months pregnant with twins and couldn't see my feet, let alone reach them to tie my shoes. When they were newborns and I hadn't slept more than 2 hours straight in weeks. When Emma got croup at 6 months and I spent the night in the ER, terrified and alone. She sighed. But resentment takes energy, and I didn't have any to spare. The girls needed all of me. So I let it go. The simple dignity of her answer humbled him. I'm sorry, he said softly. If I had known. But you didn't, Olivia interrupted gently. And I made that choice. I could have told you, but I didn't. So we both have to live with the consequences of our decisions. And now? Alex pressed. Do you regret contacting me now? Olivia turned to face him fully. No, she said after a moment. The girls deserve to know their father, and these new babies deserve to have both parents from the start if possible. She placed her coffee mug on the small table between their chairs. But Alex, I need to be very clear about something. If we do this, if you become part of their lives, there's no backing out. No getting busy with work and gradually disappearing. No deciding it's too complicated and withdrawing. Once you're their father forever. They don't deserve anything less. I understand, Alex said solemnly. And I promise you, Olivia, I won't let them down. Any of them. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay then, we'll try. Slowly, carefully, one step at a time. Relief washed over him. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Olivia warned, though her tone was lighter now. You haven't experienced the full force of the Mitchell-Collins household. Emma's science experiments have been known to set off smoke alarms, and Charlotte once turned an entire bathroom blue trying to create ocean water for her toy dolphins. Alex laughed, delighted by these glimpses into his daughter's personalities. I can't wait to see it all. Be careful what you wish for, Olivia repeated, but she was smiling now. The porch light automatically switched on as darkness fell completely, illuminating her face in a soft glow. In that moment, with the contentment of the evening still warm in his chest, Alex was struck by a realization. He had never stopped loving her. The feeling had been buried under ambition, obligation, and regret, but it had never truly disappeared. The thought startled him, and he looked away quickly, not wanting Olivia to read it in his expression. That was a complication neither of them needed right now. Their focus had to be on the children, the two they already had, and the two on the way. "I should probably go," Alex said reluctantly, checking his watch. "It's getting late." Olivia nodded, rising from her chair. "The girls will be disappointed they didn't get to say goodbye, but they'll be excited to know you're coming back." "When would be good?" Alex asked, following her inside. "Next weekend?" "How about Wednesday evening for dinner?" Olivia suggested. "That way they don't have to wait so long, and it will show them you can make time during the work week." "Wednesday is perfect," Alex agreed, mentally rearranging his schedule already. The board meeting would have to be moved, but that was exactly the kind of adjustment he needed to start making. "Should I bring anything?" "Just yourself," Olivia said, though they probably wouldn't object to more microscope slides if you happen to have any lying around. "I might know where to find some," Alex replied with a smile. At the front door, they paused awkwardly. How did one say goodbye in such a situation? A handshake seemed too formal, a hug too familiar. In the end, Alex simply extended his hand, and Olivia took it briefly. "Thank you for today," he said, "for letting me meet them." "You're welcome," she replied. "Drive safely." As Alex walked to his car, he felt lighter than he had in years, despite the enormity of the changes ahead. He had daughters, 4 of them soon, and a chance to be the father he'd never had himself. The thought was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. He was halfway home when his phone rang. Expecting it to be Olivia, he was surprised to see the hospital's emergency number on his car's display. "Dr. Mitchell," he answered, professional mode immediately engaged. "Sir, it's Dr. Patel in the ER," came the tense voice of the night shift supervisor. "We have a situation developing, multiple casualties coming in from a building collapse downtown. We're activating the mass casualty protocol and need administrative authorization to call in off-duty staff." The old Alex would have turned around immediately, heading straight to the hospital to take personal control of the situation. But now, with the memory of his daughter's faces still fresh in his mind, he made a different choice. "You have my authorization, Dr. Patel," he said calmly. "Follow the protocol as established. Dr. Warren is the designated trauma coordinator tonight. Defer to her judgment on medical matters. Call in whatever staff you need." "You're not coming in, sir?" Dr. Patel sounded surprised. "Not unless absolutely necessary," Alex replied firmly. "That's why we have protocols and designated leaders. I trust you and Dr. Warren to handle this effectively. Keep me updated via text, and I'll be available by phone if any major decisions need to be made." There was a brief pause before Dr. Patel responded, "Understood, sir. We'll keep you informed." After ending the call, Alex continued driving home, feeling a mixture of guilt and conviction. Part of him still felt he should be racing to the hospital, taking charge as his father would have done, but the larger part knew he had made the right decision. The hospital had competent staff and clear procedures for exactly this type of emergency. His physical presence wasn't necessary, just his availability for consultation. It was a small step, but a significant one. A first test of his newfound priorities, and he'd passed it. Back at his apartment, Alex texted Olivia, "Made it home safely. Thank you again for today. Looking forward to Wednesday." Her reply came a few minutes later. "The girls are already planning what to show you on Wednesday. Apparently, you need to see their rock collection and hear Charlotte's song about the water cycle. Consider yourself warned." Alex smiled, setting his phone aside. He had already decided to block off Wednesday afternoons and evenings in his calendar indefinitely. No more emergencies, no more last-minute meetings. His daughters would have that time every week without fail. His phone buzzed with an update from Dr. Patel. The situation at the hospital was under control. All incoming patients were being treated. Additional staff had arrived to assist. Alex sent back a brief acknowledgement, grateful for the confirmation that his presence wasn't needed. As he prepared for bed, Alex found himself thinking about the logistics of his new life. His penthouse apartment, while spacious, wasn't exactly child-friendly. There was no yard, no second bedroom for the girls to stay in if they ever visited. Perhaps it was time to consider other living arrangements, a house maybe closer to Oak Ridge, somewhere with a yard for them to play in, bedrooms they could decorate themselves, a proper family home. The thought of such a dramatic change would have terrified him a week ago. Now it seemed not just acceptable but necessary. If he was going to be a father, a real father, not just a biological donor or weekend visitor, he needed to create space in his life for his children. All of them. Alex fell asleep that night with visions of microscopes and dinosaurs and twin girls with his mother's blue eyes, feeling more content than he had in years. The next few days passed in a blur of hospital administration and personal planning. Alex met with his department heads to discuss restructuring his schedule, making it clear that his Tuesday clinic hours and Wednesday evenings were now sacrosanct. He spoke with his lawyer about updating his will and establishing trust funds for all 4 children. He even spent his lunch break on Monday browsing real estate listings for homes midway between the hospital and Oak Ridge, a compromise location that would make commuting manageable while keeping him close to his daughters. By Wednesday afternoon, Alex was simultaneously exhausted and energized. He'd packed more productivity into 3 days than he normally managed in a week, all to ensure he could leave the hospital by 4 o'clock without leaving any crises in his wake. "I'll be unavailable until tomorrow morning," he informed Diane as he prepared to leave. "Dr. Harris has agreed to handle any administrative emergencies that might arise." "Understood," his assistant replied, watching with barely concealed curiosity as Alex exchanged his lab coat for a casual blazer. "Enjoy your evening, Dr. Mitchell." On the drive to Oak Ridge, Alex stopped at a small specialty store he'd researched online. 20 minutes later, he emerged with a carefully packaged box containing prepared microscope slides, professional-grade specimens of plant cells, insect parts, and microorganisms that would delight any budding scientist. When Alex arrived at the Blue House on Maple Street, he was greeted by the sight of Emma and Charlotte waiting on the front porch, clearly stationed there to watch for his car. They waved enthusiastically as he pulled into the driveway, then raced down the steps to meet him. "Dr. Alex! Dr. Alex!" Emma called, bouncing on her toes. "We finished the robot arm. Come see?" "And I found a really weird bug in the garden," Charlotte added, slightly more composed but equally excited. "We saved it for the microscope." Alex couldn't help but laugh at their enthusiasm. "Hello to you too," he said, crouching down to their level. "I can't wait to see the robot and your bug. I brought something special for the microscope as well." "What is it?" they asked in unison, eyes wide with curiosity. "You'll see after dinner," Alex promised. "Is your mom inside?" "She's cooking spaghetti," Emma informed him, "the kind with no meat for Charlotte." "And garlic bread," Charlotte added importantly. "I helped make it." They each took one of his hands naturally, leading him up the porch steps and into the house as if he'd been visiting for years rather than just once before. The simple gesture, their small hands in his, filled Alex with a warmth he couldn't quite describe. Inside, delicious aromas filled the air. Olivia emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She looked tired, Alex noticed immediately, with slight shadows under her eyes that hadn't been there on Saturday. "Welcome back," she said with a small smile. "I see my welcoming committee found you." "They're very efficient," Alex replied, allowing himself to be tugged toward the living room where the robot was apparently waiting for his inspection. "Dinner in 15 minutes, Olivia called after them. "Emma, show Dr. Alex your school project too." The next quarter hour was a whirlwind of show and tell. The robot arm, now fully assembled, could pick up small objects using a simple pulley system. Emma's school project was a meticulously labeled diagram of the solar system, with facts about each planet written in careful 5-year-old handwriting. Charlotte's mystery bug, captured in a jar with air holes punched in the lid, turned out to be a particularly large beetle. "Girls, wash hands for dinner, please," Olivia called from the kitchen. As the twins scampered off to the bathroom, Alex joined Olivia in the kitchen. "Can I help with anything?" "You could fill the water glasses," she suggested, nodding toward the cabinet where they were kept. As Alex complied, he noticed her pause to press a hand against her lower back, a brief grimace crossing her features. "Are you feeling all right?" he asked, concern coloring his voice. "Just tired," Olivia admitted. "The first trimester is always rough, and twins make it doubly exhausting. Plus, I had parent-teacher conferences until late last night." "You should be resting more," Alex said, medical training kicking in. "Twin pregnancies are high risk even without the added stress of work and raising two active children." "Resting more isn't exactly an option," Olivia replied with a wry smile. "Single working mother, remember? Bills don't pay themselves, and 5-year-olds don't supervise themselves." Alex hesitated, then decided directness was the best approach. "I want to help, Olivia. Financially, I mean. They're my children too, all 4 of them. I should be contributing to their support." Olivia paused in the act of draining the pasta, steam rising around her face. "We've managed fine so far," she said carefully. "I know you have," Alex replied. "That's not the point. It's not about your capability. It's about my responsibility, about doing what's right." Before Olivia could respond, the girls returned from washing their hands, and the conversation was necessarily shelved. Dinner was a lively affair, with the twins eager to tell Alex about their day at school, a special assembly with a visiting astronaut, an art project involving dinosaur footprints, and a playground disagreement with a boy who insisted that girls can't be real scientists. "I told him Marie Curie won 2 Nobel Prizes," Emma said indignantly, twirling spaghetti around her fork. "And Rosalind Franklin discovered DNA structure," Charlotte added, carefully picking the mushrooms out of her sauce. "Very good," Alex said, impressed by their knowledge. "You're absolutely right. Some of the most important scientific discoveries in history were made by women." "Mom says we can be anything we want when we grow up," Emma declared. "Your mom is very wise," Alex agreed, catching Olivia's eye across the table. She smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes despite her evident fatigue. After dinner, as promised, Alex brought out the professional microscope slides. The girls were ecstatic, examining each specimen with serious concentration and peppering him with questions about cell structures and microscopic organisms. Alex answered each inquiry patiently, occasionally glancing at Olivia, who had settled onto the couch with visible relief. When the girls became engrossed in sketching what they'd seen through the microscope, Alex joined Olivia on the couch. "They're naturals," he said quietly. "The way they ask questions, how they're not satisfied with surface explanations. They have real scientific minds." "I know," Olivia replied with obvious pride. "Their teacher says she can barely keep up with them sometimes. They're already reading at a 3rd grade level, and their math skills are even further advanced. We should start thinking about their education," Alex said thoughtfully. "Westridge Academy has a good science program, but for truly gifted children there are specialized—" "Slow down," Olivia interrupted, though her tone was gentle. "They're 5, Alex. Let them be little girls for a while before we start planning their academic careers." "You're right," he acknowledged. "I'm getting ahead of myself. It's just, I want to make sure they have every opportunity." "They will," Olivia assured him. "But childhood only happens once. There's plenty of time for academic pressure later." Alex nodded, recognizing the wisdom in her approach. His own childhood had been filled with expectations and achievements, but very little simple joy. He didn't want that for his daughters. The evening passed quickly, and soon it was bath time again. This time, Alex remained downstairs while Olivia managed the bedtime routine, using the opportunity to clean up the dinner dishes and microscope materials. He was just finishing when Olivia came back downstairs. "They want you to say goodnight," she said, "if you'd like to." Alex headed upstairs immediately, finding the girls already tucked into their beds, freshly bathed and pajama-clad. Their room smelled of the same strawberry shampoo as before, a scent he was already coming to associate with his daughters. "Good night, scientists," he said softly from the doorway. "Night, Dr. Alex," they chorused sleepily. "Dr. Alex?" Emma asked, her voice already fuzzy with approaching sleep. "Are you coming back again?" "Yes," he promised. "I'll be back next week. Maybe we can look at your beetle under the microscope then." "Kay," she murmured, eyelids drooping. Charlotte was already asleep, her breathing deep and even, one arm wrapped around her Triceratops plushie. Alex watched them both for a moment, marveling at these little lives he had helped create. Then he quietly closed the door and went back downstairs. Olivia was in the kitchen making tea. She looked utterly exhausted now that the girls were in bed and she no longer needed to maintain her energetic mom persona. "Sit down," Alex instructed gently. "Let me finish that." To his surprise, she complied without argument, sinking into a kitchen chair with a sigh. Alex completed the tea preparation and placed a steaming mug in front of her. "We need to talk about your health," he said, sitting across from her. "Marissa, Dr. Reynolds, mentioned your blood pressure was slightly elevated at your last appointment, and it's obvious you're exhausted. Being pregnant with twins while working full-time and raising 2 active 5-year-olds will do that to a person," Olivia replied, but there was no bite in her tone. "Let me help," Alex said simply. "Not just with visits and moral support, but practically, financially." Olivia sipped her tea, considering his words. "What exactly are you proposing?" "To start, I want to set up a joint account for the children's expenses, school fees, medical costs, childcare, whatever they need. I'll make regular deposits, and you'll have complete access to it." He paused, then continued. "I'd also like to establish trust funds for their future education." "Alex, please, Olivia," he interrupted. "I've missed 5 years of supporting them. Let me do this now. Not for you, if that makes it easier to accept. For them." She studied him over the rim of her mug, then nodded slowly. "All right. For the children. But I don't want them growing up entitled or spoiled. No excessive gifts, no lavish spending. I want them grounded, understanding the value of work and money." "I agree completely," Alex assured her. "The trust funds would be for education only, accessible when they're ready for college, and the joint account would be for practical needs, not extravagances." "And what about these two?" Olivia asked, placing a hand on her stomach. "What arrangements do you envision for them?" It was the question Alex had been considering since learning of the pregnancy. "I want to be fully involved from the beginning," he said. "Joint custody if you're amenable. We could work out a schedule that minimizes disruption for them and for Emma and Charlotte." "You'd want them to stay with you?" Olivia looked skeptical. "Your penthouse isn't exactly baby-proofed." "I'm looking at houses, actually," Alex admitted. "Something closer to Oak Ridge, with a yard and enough bedrooms for everyone, for when the children stay with me." He hesitated, then added, "All the children eventually, when Emma and Charlotte know who I am, when they're ready." Olivia's expression softened. "You're really serious about this?" "Completely," Alex confirmed. "My priorities have changed, Olivia. The hospital is still important, but it's not everything anymore, not even close." She was quiet for a long moment, fatigue and thoughtfulness mingling in her features. "I appreciate that, Alex. I do. But these are massive life changes you're contemplating. Houses, custody arrangements, trust funds. I just want to be sure you've really thought it through. That it's not a momentary reaction that you'll regret when reality sets in." "I understand your caution," Alex said, "and I don't expect you to just take my word for it. But I hope my actions over the coming months will prove my commitment." Olivia nodded, accepting this. "Fair enough." She yawned suddenly, unable to suppress it. "You need rest," Alex said, standing. "I should go." "Thank you for coming tonight," Olivia said, following him to the door. The girls were counting down the hours all day. "I wouldn't have missed it," Alex replied sincerely. "And I meant what I said. I'll be back next week. Same time?" "That works," Olivia agreed. Though fair warning, next Wednesday is show and tell day at school, so expect to hear extremely detailed accounts of whatever 25 kindergartners brought to class. Alex laughed. I can't wait. At the door, they paused again in that moment of awkward, not quite familiarity. This time, though, Alex took a chance and leaned in to give Olivia a light, brief hug. Take care of yourself, he said as he released her. And them, he added, glancing at her stomach. We will, she promised. Drive safely. As Alex drove back to the city, his mind was full of plans and possibilities. He needed to accelerate his house search, meet with his financial advisor about the trust funds, consult with a family law attorney about custody arrangements for the unborn twins. But underlying all these practical considerations was a profound sense of rightness. For the first time in years, perhaps ever, he felt his life had true purpose beyond professional achievement. His phone buzzed with a text as he was parking at his apartment building. It was from Olivia, with an attached photo of Emma and Charlotte sound asleep in their beds. Charlotte's arm flung dramatically across her face, Emma curled into a tight ball around her stuffed dolphin. The message read simply, "They asked me to take this, so Dr. Alex can see us even when he's not here. Good night." Alex stared at the image for a long moment, emotions welling up that he couldn't quite name. Then he saved the photo as his phone's wallpaper and headed inside, already counting the days until next Wednesday. The next few weeks established a rhythm that gradually began to feel natural. Every Wednesday evening, Alex would leave the hospital by 4 o'clock and drive to Oak Ridge for dinner with Olivia and the twins. Saturdays were also reserved for the girls, sometimes spent at their house, other times on carefully planned outings to museums, parks, or science centers. Emma and Charlotte blossomed under his attention, becoming more comfortable with him by the day. Charlotte, initially the shyer of the two, now greeted him with enthusiastic hugs, while Emma had taken to saving interesting facts throughout the week to share with him, presenting them like precious gifts when he arrived. "Did you know that some octopuses have blue blood?" she announced one Wednesday as he walked through the door. "I did know that, actually," Alex replied, hanging up his coat. "It's because they use copper to bind oxygen instead of iron like we do." Emma's face lit up at this additional information, while Charlotte tugged at his hand. "Come see my new rock. It has crystals inside." These moments, the simple, everyday interactions, had become the highlights of Alex's week. The pride in the girls' faces when they mastered a new concept, their boundless curiosity about the world, their unconditional delight at his presence, all of it filled a void in his life he hadn't fully recognized until now. "They talk about you constantly at school," Olivia informed him one evening as they cleaned up after dinner while the girls worked on a puzzle in the living room. "Their teacher asked me if you'd be willing to come for career day next month. Apparently they've been telling everyone about their doctor friend who knows everything about science." "I'd be honored," Alex said immediately. "Just let me know the date, and I'll clear my schedule." Olivia paused in the act of loading the dishwasher, studying him with a thoughtful expression. "You've been consistent," she observed. "Every Wednesday, every Saturday. No cancellations, no last-minute emergencies." "I told you I was serious about this," Alex replied simply. "Yes, you did," Olivia acknowledged. "I just didn't expect it to be so seamless. The hospital hasn't fallen apart without you constantly there?" Alex smiled wryly. "Turns out I'm not quite as indispensable as my father led me to believe. The world keeps turning even when Alexander Mitchell isn't personally supervising it." "That's a valuable lesson," Olivia said, a hint of teasing in her voice. "One your father never learned, as I recall." "No," Alex agreed, sobering slightly. "He didn't. And he died believing his greatest achievement was a building with his name on it, not his son." Olivia touched his arm briefly, her expression softening. "The girls adore you, you know. This morning, Emma asked if you could come to her dance recital next month." Alex felt a surge of emotion at this news. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." The following Saturday brought another milestone. Alex had arranged a visit to the Natural History Museum in the city, where a special exhibit on dinosaurs had just opened. The twins were beside themselves with excitement, chattering non-stop during the car ride about which dinosaurs they hoped to see. "I want to see the T-Rex skeleton," Emma declared from her booster seat in the back of Alex's car. He had purchased proper car seats for both girls the day after his first Wednesday visit, installing them in his sedan with meticulous care. "The Triceratops is better," Charlotte countered. "It has 3 horns for protection." "But T-Rex was the king," Emma argued. "Girls," Olivia intervened from the front passenger seat. "The museum has both, so you'll each get to see your favorite." Alex caught Olivia's eye with a smile. These sibling debates had become familiar to him now, the good-natured arguing that never quite escalated to true disagreement. At the museum, the girls were wide-eyed with wonder at the massive skeletons towering above them. Alex found himself naturally falling into the role of tour guide, explaining adaptations and time periods, answering their endless questions with patience and enthusiasm. "Dr. Alex knows everything about dinosaurs," Emma informed a museum docent proudly. "Not everything," Alex corrected gently. "I just read a lot of books." "Like us," Charlotte exclaimed, pleased with this similarity. As they moved through the exhibit, Alex noticed several museum staff members giving him curious looks. One older gentleman in a museum polo shirt approached with a professional smile. "Dr. Mitchell," he greeted Alex. "I didn't know you were visiting today. It's an honor to have you here." Alex inwardly grimaced, realizing that the Mitchell family's substantial donations to the museum over the years had made him recognizable to the staff. "Thank you," he replied politely. "Just enjoying the exhibit with my friends." The man nodded, glancing at the twins with a smile. "Well, if you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. The director would be happy to give you a behind-the-scenes tour if you're interested." "That's very kind, but we're having a wonderful time just following the regular route," Alex said, anxious to avoid special treatment that might prompt questions from the girls. After the man left, Olivia raised an eyebrow at him. "Famous, are we?" "Family donations," Alex explained quietly. "My father was on the board here for years." "Dr. Alex, come see," Emma called from ahead where she'd discovered an interactive display about dinosaur eggs. The rest of the visit passed without incident, the girls thoroughly exhausted by the time they reached the gift shop. Despite Olivia's protests, Alex insisted on letting each girl select one item as a memento. Emma chose a book about prehistoric sea creatures, while Charlotte selected a build-your-own dinosaur skeleton kit. On the drive back to Oak Ridge, both girls fell asleep in their car seats, worn out from the excitement and walking. "They had a wonderful time," Olivia said softly, glancing back at their sleeping faces. "Thank you for arranging this." "It was my pleasure," Alex replied sincerely. "Seeing their excitement, their curiosity, it's incredible." "They're usually like that," Olivia said with a smile. "Endlessly fascinated by the world. It's exhausting sometimes, but mostly amazing." They drove in comfortable silence for a while, the sleeping children and the hum of the road creating a strangely intimate atmosphere. "I made an offer on a house," Alex said suddenly, keeping his voice low to avoid waking the girls. "In Lakeside, about 15 minutes from Oak Ridge. 4 bedrooms, big backyard with mature trees. It's on a cul-de-sac, so very little traffic." Olivia turned to look at him, surprise evident in her expression. "That's a big step." "I'm hoping to close next month before the babies come," Alex continued. "I want to have everything ready, nursery, child-proofing, all of it." "Alex," Olivia began, then hesitated. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we haven't even told Emma and Charlotte who you really are yet, and we still haven't fully discussed arrangements for the new twins." "I know," he acknowledged. "I'm not trying to rush those conversations. But regardless of how we structure custody or visitation, I need a proper home for when the children are with me. My apartment isn't suitable." Olivia nodded slowly. "You're right about that. This is all happening very quickly." "Too quickly?" Alex asked, genuinely concerned. "I don't want to overwhelm you or the girls." "No, not too quickly," Olivia assured him after a moment's reflection. "It's just different from what I expected. When I imagined telling you about the girls, I thought you might want occasional visits, maybe some financial support. I never anticipated you'd want to be so thoroughly involved." "Neither did I," Alex admitted. "But from the moment I saw their photograph, something changed, and after meeting them," he glanced in the rearview mirror at their sleeping forms. "They're a part of me, Olivia, a part I didn't know was missing until I found them." Olivia was quiet for a long moment. "We should tell them soon," she finally said, "before the new babies come. They're already asking questions about why you visit so regularly. Emma asked last week if you were my boyfriend." Alex couldn't help but smile at that. "What did you tell her?" "That you're a special friend who cares about us very much," Olivia replied. "But that won't satisfy their curiosity for long. They're too smart." "How do you want to handle it?" Alex asked, relieved that they were finally having this conversation. "Honestly, simply," Olivia said, "without too much detail about why you haven't been in their lives until now. They're too young to understand the complexities of adult relationships and choices." "Agreed," Alex said. "When do you think would be the right time?" "Next weekend?" Olivia suggested. "At home, where they feel safe and comfortable. We could tell them together, answer their questions, then maybe do something special as a family." The word family hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning and possibility. "Next weekend sounds perfect," Alex agreed softly. The rest of the drive passed in companionable silence, both adults lost in thought about the significant conversation that lay ahead. When they reached Olivia's house, Alex gently carried first Charlotte, then Emma inside and up to their beds, removing their shoes but leaving them in their clothes as Olivia suggested. "They'll wake up for a little while later, have a snack, then change for their proper bedtime," she explained in a whisper as they tiptoed out of the girls' room. Downstairs, Alex hesitated at the door. "Do you want me to stay? Help with them when they wake up?" Olivia shook her head. "I think it's better if I have some time alone with them tonight, to start preparing them in small ways for our conversation next weekend." "Of course," Alex agreed. "Text me if you need anything. And thank you, Olivia, for today, for everything." "Drive safely," she replied with a small smile, her standard farewell that he'd come to find oddly comforting in its consistency. The week that followed was one of the longest of Alex's life. Anticipation and anxiety about the upcoming conversation with his daughters made hours at the hospital drag interminably. He found himself distracted during meetings, his mind constantly wandering to how Emma and Charlotte might react to learning he was their father. Would they be confused, angry, excited? Would they have questions he couldn't answer? Would they reject him or embrace this new identity? "Earth to Alex," Marissa Reynolds said, waving a hand in front of his face during their weekly department head meeting. "You're a million miles away." "Sorry," he apologized, refocusing on the matter at hand, budget allocations for the next quarter. "Where were we?" "Obstetrics was requesting an additional ultrasound machine," Dr. Harris reminded him with barely concealed impatience. "Right, approved," Alex said decisively. "Anything that improves patient care in high-risk pregnancies is a priority." Marissa gave him a knowing look, but said nothing. She had been discreetly monitoring Olivia's pregnancy, keeping Alex informed of any developments while maintaining professional boundaries. So far, everything was progressing normally, though Olivia's blood pressure remained slightly elevated, a concern in a twin pregnancy, but not yet at an alarming level. Wednesday evening's visit was slightly more subdued than usual. The girls seemed to sense that something was different, though Alex tried to maintain their normal routine. Olivia, too, seemed preoccupied, answering questions with slight delays and losing the thread of conversations occasionally. "Are you feeling all right?" Alex asked quietly as they cleared the dinner dishes. "Just nervous about Saturday," Olivia admitted. "I've been trying to prepare them without actually telling them anything. It's challenging. Second thoughts? Alex asked, a note of worry in his voice. No, Olivia said firmly. They need to know. It's the right time. I'm just anxious about how they'll take it. Me too, Alex confessed. I've barely slept all week. Olivia smiled slightly at that. Welcome to parenthood. Constant worry comes with the territory. When Saturday finally arrived, Alex was up before dawn, too restless to sleep. He arrived at Olivia's house at the agreed-upon time of 10 in the morning, carrying a small, carefully selected gift for each girl. Not bribes, he told himself, but tangible symbols of his commitment to them. Olivia opened the door before he could ring the bell, her expression a mix of determination and nervousness. They're in the living room, she said quietly. I told them we have something important to talk about. Alex nodded, his mouth suddenly dry. How are they? Curious, a little anxious. Emma's been asking if someone is sick. Olivia took a deep breath. Ready? As I'll ever be, Alex replied honestly. They walked into the living room together, where Emma and Charlotte sat side by side on the couch, identical expressions of concern on their small faces. They were dressed in matching outfits again, denim overalls with different colored t-shirts underneath, Emma's red and Charlotte's yellow. Alex wondered if Olivia had deliberately dressed them in their brave colors for this conversation. Hi, girls, he said, trying to keep his voice casual despite the thundering of his heart. Hi, Dr. Alex, they replied in unison, though with less enthusiasm than usual. Is somebody going to the hospital? Emma asked directly, her blue eyes, his mother's eyes, wide with worry. No, sweetheart, Olivia assured her, sitting in the armchair across from the couch. Everyone is perfectly healthy. Then why do we need a special talk? Charlotte pressed, always quick to get to the heart of a matter. Alex sat on the coffee table in front of them, bringing himself to their eye level. Olivia had suggested this arrangement, believing it would make the conversation feel more intimate and less intimidating. We wanted to talk to you about something very important, Alex began, glancing at Olivia for support. She nodded encouragingly. Something about me, and about you two, and about our family. The girls looked confused but attentive. Alex took a deep breath and continued. You know how families can look different, right? Some kids live with their mom and dad. Some live with just their mom, like you do. Some live with grandparents or other relatives. The twins nodded. They had friends with various family structures and seemed to understand this concept well. And you know that every child has a father, even if that father doesn't live with them, Alex continued carefully. Like our dad, Emma said matter-of-factly. Mom says he's a doctor who lives far away. Alex's eyes met Olivia's for a moment before he focused back on the girls. That's actually what we wanted to talk to you about. You see, I'm your father. There was a moment of complete silence. The girls stared at him, then at each other, then back at him. Charlotte's mouth had fallen slightly open while Emma's brow was furrowed in concentration. You're our dad? Emma finally asked, her voice small and uncertain. Yes, Alex confirmed gently. I am. But you live in the city, Charlotte said slowly. Not far away. That's true, Alex acknowledged. I do live in the city, but until recently I didn't know I was your father. This concept seemed to confuse them even more. Emma looked to Olivia for confirmation. Mom, is Dr. Alex really our dad? Olivia moved to sit beside them on the couch, putting an arm around each girl. Yes, sweethearts. Dr. Alex is your father. I should have told you both sooner, but I wanted to wait until the right time. Why didn't you know you were our dad? Charlotte asked Alex directly, her analytical mind already seeking logical explanations. Alex had prepared for this question, having discussed with Olivia how much detail was appropriate for their age. Sometimes grown-ups make complicated decisions, he explained carefully. Your mom and I knew each other a long time ago, before you were born. But then we didn't see each other for many years. I didn't know about you two until your mom came to my hospital. For the new babies, Emma said, glancing at Olivia's stomach, which was now visibly rounded beneath her loose sweater. That's right, Olivia confirmed. When I saw Dr. Alex again, I realized it was time for you to meet your father. Are the babies in your tummy Dr. Alex's babies too? Charlotte asked with surprising directness. Yes, Olivia answered simply. They are. The girls fell silent again, processing this information. Alex waited anxiously, resisting the urge to fill the silence with more explanations or reassurances. Olivia had advised him to let them ask questions at their own pace, to follow their lead rather than overwhelming them with information. So, Emma said finally, working through the implications aloud. If you're our dad, and you're the baby's dad, that means the babies will be our sisters or brothers. That's right, Alex confirmed, relieved at her logical progression. You're going to be big sisters. This news seemed to please them. They exchanged excited glances before Charlotte turned back to Alex with another question. If you're our dad, why do we call you Dr. Alex? Well, Alex began carefully, when we first met, you didn't know I was your father. We were just getting to know each other. But now that you know the truth, you can call me whatever makes you comfortable. Some kids call their father dad or daddy. Some use other names. What did you call your dad? Emma asked. The question caught Alex off guard. I called him father, he admitted. But that was what he preferred. You can choose whatever feels right to you. The girls looked at each other again, having one of their silent twin conversations that Alex had witnessed several times now. After a moment, Emma turned back to him. Can we think about it? She asked. Of course, Alex assured her, hiding his disappointment. He'd secretly hoped they might immediately embrace calling him Dad, but he understood their need for time. There's no rush at all. Does this mean you'll live with us now? Charlotte asked, her question cutting straight to a practical concern. No, sweetheart, Olivia answered before Alex could. Dr. Alex will still live in his own home, but he'll continue to visit us, just like he has been doing on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and sometimes you might visit him at his home. I'm actually buying a new house, Alex added. It's closer to Oak Ridge with a big backyard and rooms for each of you for when you visit. This information seemed to interest them greatly. Will we have our own rooms? Emma asked, eyes widening. Yes, Alex confirmed. You each get your own room that you can decorate however you like. Can I have space wallpaper? Charlotte asked immediately. And can I have a microscope in my room? Emma added. Alex laughed, relief washing through him at their practical, childlike concerns. Yes to both. We can choose wallpaper together, and I'll make sure you have all the science equipment you need. The tension in the room had dissipated considerably, but Alex knew there were still more significant matters to address. I want you both to know something very important, he said, his voice growing serious again. I'm very sorry that I missed the first 5 years of your lives. If I had known about you, I would have been here from the beginning. It's okay, Emma said with the simple forgiveness of childhood. You're here now. And you're not going away? Charlotte asked, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. No, Alex promised fervently. I'm not going away. I'll be part of your lives from now on, always. I'm your father, and that means I'll always be here for you, no matter what. Olivia squeezed both girls gently. How are you feeling about all this? It's a lot of information. Emma tilted her head thoughtfully. I always wondered what our dad was like, and now we know. Are you happy? Sad? Confused? Olivia prompted gently. All those feelings are okay. I'm happy, Charlotte said after a moment, because now we have a dad who knows about dinosaurs and microscopes. And who can explain about blood cells and bacteria, Emma added pragmatically. That's useful. Alex couldn't help but laugh at their practical assessment of his paternal value. Trust his daughters to evaluate him primarily on his scientific knowledge rather than emotional factors. I have something for each of you, he said, reaching for the small packages he'd brought. Not because of what we talked about today, but because I wanted you to have something special. He handed each girl a small, flat box. Inside, they found identical silver lockets, simple and elegant, sized appropriately for children. "These open up," he explained, showing them the tiny latch. Inside each locket was a miniature photograph of the four of them, Alex, Olivia, Emma, and Charlotte, taken during their museum visit the previous weekend. A museum staff member had offered to take the picture, capturing them standing together in front of the T-Rex skeleton, all smiling broadly. "It's our family," Charlotte said softly, examining the tiny image. "Yes," Alex confirmed, emotion thickening his voice. "Our family." The girls immediately wanted to wear their new necklaces. Alex helped fasten them around their necks, his fingers trembling slightly with the delicacy of the task and the significance of the moment. "Thank you," Emma said, fingering the locket with unusual gentleness for her typically exuberant personality. "I like having a picture of all of us." "Me too," Charlotte agreed. Olivia caught Alex's eye over the girls' heads, her own eyes suspiciously bright. "Why don't you show your father, what you've been working on in the backyard?" she suggested. "The caterpillar habitat?" The girls eagerly led Alex outside to see the elaborate butterfly nursery they had constructed with Olivia's help, a mesh enclosure containing milkweed plants and several fat monarch caterpillars. Their initial awkwardness forgotten, they slipped back into their usual pattern of enthusiastic scientific explanation, pointing out the different stages of caterpillar development and predicting when each might form its chrysalis. Alex listened attentively, marveling at how quickly children could adapt to life-changing information. One moment they were processing the news that he was their father. The next, they were excitedly showing him caterpillars as if nothing had changed. Perhaps to them, nothing fundamental had changed. He had been a consistent, caring presence in their lives for weeks now. The label might be new, but the relationship was already forming. When they returned inside, Olivia suggested that the girls play in their room for a while so the adults could talk. Once they had scampered upstairs, she turned to Alex with a relieved smile. "That went better than I expected," she admitted, sinking onto the couch. "They're incredible," Alex said, sitting beside her. "So resilient, so matter-of-fact." "Children often are," Olivia replied. "They take things as they come, without all the emotional baggage adults bring to situations." "The lockets were a good idea?" "Perfect," Olivia assured him. "Simple, meaningful, not extravagant. Just right." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to the muffled sounds of the girls playing upstairs. "So what happens now?" Alex finally asked. "We keep doing what we've been doing," Olivia replied pragmatically. "Regular visits, building relationships. They'll have questions as they process this, probably at random moments when we least expect it. We answer honestly but age appropriately." "And the new twins?" Alex pressed gently, his eyes dropping to her rounded abdomen. "I have another ultrasound next week," Olivia said. "Dr. Reynolds wants to monitor more frequently now that I'm entering the second trimester. She's concerned about my blood pressure." "I know," Alex admitted. "She keeps me updated, in general terms only," he added quickly when Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Doctor-patient confidentiality is still respected." "I appreciate her care," Olivia said, "and yours. But I'm fine, really. Just the normal discomforts of a twin pregnancy." Alex wanted to press further about her health, but decided to focus on the practical aspects of co-parenting instead. "I'd like to be at the ultrasound, if you're comfortable with that, and to discuss birth plans, pediatrician options, all of it." "We can do that," Olivia agreed readily. "I've been thinking about names, actually. Would you like to hear my ideas?" "Absolutely," Alex replied, moved that she wanted to include him in this decision. Their conversation continued, covering practical matters of co-parenting, both the twins they already had and the ones on the way. Alex marveled at how easily they fell into this partnership, how natural it felt to discuss school options and extracurricular activities and parenting philosophies with Olivia. Eventually, the girls came back downstairs, ready for lunch and more time with their newly identified father. Alex stayed for the rest of the day, helping make lunch, playing board games, and finally reading bedtime stories before departing. At the door, as he was preparing to leave, Emma surprised him by throwing her arms around his waist in a fierce hug. "Bye, Dad," she said experimentally, testing out the new title. Alex's heart seemed to stop, then race forward. "Bye, Emma," he managed, his voice rough with emotion. Charlotte, not to be outdone, offered her own hug and a quiet, "Bye, Dad," that nearly undid him completely. "I'll see you both very soon," he promised, kneeling to their level to return their hugs properly. As he drove home that night, Alex found himself repeatedly wiping away tears of joy, of gratitude, of overwhelming love for these two remarkable little girls who had so easily accepted him into their lives. The weeks that followed brought a whirlwind of changes. Alex closed on the house in Lakeside, a charming colonial with a sprawling yard backed by woods, and immediately began renovations to prepare it for the children. Emma and Charlotte visited frequently during the process, offering enthusiastic opinions on everything from paint colors to furniture placement. "My room needs to be blue like the ocean," Emma declared, standing in the empty bedroom that would be hers, "and I want shelves for all my books and specimens." "Mine should be purple with stars on the ceiling," Charlotte instructed, equally definitive. "Real constellations, not just random stars." Alex took notes dutifully, determined to create spaces that reflected their individual personalities and interests. The nursery for the new twins was painted a soft, gender-neutral green, with a mural of a forest scene that Alex commissioned from a local artist. 2 matching cribs, a comfortable glider, and a changing table completed the essential furnishings. On Wednesdays and Saturdays, Alex still visited Olivia's house, maintaining the consistency that the girls had come to expect. But now, instead of Dr. Alex, they called him Dad, with increasing naturalness, the term slipping easily from their lips as if they'd been using it all their lives. Olivia's pregnancy progressed, her belly growing more pronounced as she entered her 5th month. Dr. Reynolds continued to monitor her closely, concerned about her persistent high blood pressure and increasing fatigue. After a particularly concerning reading at a routine checkup, Marissa called Alex directly. "I've put Olivia on modified bed rest," she informed him without preamble. "Her blood pressure is creeping into the danger zone, and there are early signs of preeclampsia. She needs to reduce stress and physical activity immediately." "I'll be right there," Alex responded, already reaching for his coat. He found Olivia in the examination room, her expression a mix of frustration and concern as Marissa explained the restrictions she would need to follow. "This isn't necessary," Olivia protested. "I feel fine, just tired." "Preeclampsia doesn't always announce itself with symptoms until it's severe," Marissa countered firmly. "We need to be proactive, especially with a twin pregnancy." "What about work? The girls?" Olivia asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. "I can't just stop everything." "That's what I'm here for," Alex said, moving to her side and taking her hand. "We'll figure it out together." The drive back to Oak Ridge was quiet, Olivia staring out the window with uncharacteristic passivity. Alex could sense her distress but gave her space to process the doctor's orders. Only when they were nearly home did she speak. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted softly. "I've always handled everything myself. The girls, the house, work. I don't know how to just stop." "You don't have to handle everything yourself anymore," Alex reminded her gently. "That's the whole point of me being in your lives now. We're partners in this. But your work is less important than your health and our children's well-being," Alex interrupted firmly. "I've already been delegating more. I can work remotely much of the time. This is exactly why I bought a house closer to Oak Ridge." "It's too much to ask of you," Olivia insisted. "You're not asking. I'm offering," Alex countered. "Besides, it's hardly a sacrifice to spend more time with Emma and Charlotte." By the time they arrived home, a tentative plan had formed. Alex would take the girls to and from school each day, handle household tasks, and stay over in Olivia's guest room several nights a week to provide additional support. For the days he needed to be physically present at the hospital, they would arrange for Olivia's mother to come stay. "It's temporary," Alex assured her as he helped her settle on the couch with pillows and a throw blanket. "Just until your blood pressure stabilizes." "And if it doesn't?" Olivia asked, voicing the concern that hung between them. "Then we adjust," Alex replied simply. "One day at a time." The new arrangement required explanations for the twins, who were initially confused and worried by their mother's sudden restrictions. Alex sat them down that evening and explained in child-appropriate terms. "Mom needs to rest more because the babies are growing very quickly now," he said, keeping his tone calm and matter-of-fact. "So I'm going to be staying here more often to help take care of things. Is that okay with you two?" "Will you take us to school?" Emma asked immediately, focused on the practical implications. "Yes, every day," Alex confirmed. "And make dinner?" Charlotte added. "I'll try, though I'm not as good a cook as your mom," Alex admitted with a smile. "We might have to learn together." The girls seemed satisfied with this arrangement, especially when Alex explained that they would also be spending more time at his new house, helping to finish setting up their rooms. The prospect of decorating their own spaces was thrilling enough to overshadow any concerns about the changes to their routine. That night, after the girls were asleep, Alex found Olivia still awake in the living room, a medical journal open but unread in her lap. "They took it well," he reported, sitting beside her. "They're adaptable," Olivia replied with a small smile, "and excited about spending more time with you." "Are you comfortable with this arrangement?" Alex asked, suddenly aware that he had essentially invited himself to move partially into her home. "I don't want to overstep." "It's the logical solution," Olivia said pragmatically, "and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't relieved to have the help. I've been more tired than I wanted to admit." "You should have said something sooner," Alex chided gently. "Old habits," Olivia shrugged. "I've been handling things on my own for so long, it's hard to remember I don't have to anymore." "Well, get used to it," Alex said firmly. "You're stuck with my help now." The following weeks established a new normal that surprised Alex with how natural it felt. Mornings were a whirlwind of breakfast preparation, lunch packing, and getting the girls ready for school. He quickly learned each twin's particular preferences. Emma needed her sandwich cut diagonally with crusts removed, while Charlotte preferred hers in rectangles with crusts intact. Emma wore her hair in braids, Charlotte in a ponytail. Emma's favorite breakfast was yogurt with berries. Charlotte's was oatmeal with cinnamon. These small details, these intimate pieces of their daily lives were precious to him. Each morning routine, each bedtime ritual, each meal preparation was an opportunity to know his daughters more deeply. Olivia, for her part, was a reluctant but compliant patient. She followed Dr. Reynolds' restrictions, resting frequently and allowing Alex to handle household tasks she would normally manage herself. Her blood pressure improved slightly but remained concerning, prompting Marissa to extend the modified bed rest indefinitely. Until delivery, she informed them at Olivia's 6-month checkup. "I know it's difficult, but the risks of preeclampsia are too serious to ignore." The ultrasound that day confirmed what they already knew. 2 healthy baby girls were developing normally, positioned head down and measuring right on track for their gestational age. Alex watched the screen in fascination, his hand clasped tightly in Olivia's as Marissa pointed out tiny features. "They're perfect," he whispered, emotion thickening his voice. "And active," Olivia added with a grimace as one of the babies delivered a particularly robust kick. "They never stop moving." Later that evening, as Alex prepared dinner while Olivia supervised homework at the kitchen table, Emma looked up from her math worksheet with a thoughtful expression. "Dad?" she asked, the term now completely natural on her lips. "Are you and Mom going to get married?" Alex nearly dropped the wooden spoon he was using to stir the pasta sauce. He glanced at Olivia, who looked equally startled by the question. That's Not something we've discussed, sweetheart, Olivia answered carefully. Why do you ask? Because you're having babies together, Emma explained with the linear logic of a 5-year-old. And Dad stays here a lot now. And Lily's parents got married when they were having a new baby. Not all parents who have children together get married, Alex explained, recovering his composure. Your mom and I are working together to take care of you and Charlotte and the new babies. That's what's important right now. Emma seemed to consider this answer, then nodded, apparently satisfied, and returned to her homework. But the question lingered in the air between the adults, unspoken but impossible to ignore. After the girls were in bed, Alex broached the subject as he and Olivia sat on the porch enjoying the mild spring evening. About what Emma asked earlier, he began cautiously. Children are very concrete thinkers, Olivia said, a hint of defensiveness in her tone. They like clear categories and simple explanations. I know, Alex agreed, but her question made me realize we haven't really discussed us, what this is, what it might become. Olivia was quiet for a long moment. I've been so focused on the pregnancy, on the girls, on this co-parenting arrangement. I haven't allowed myself to think beyond that. That's understandable, Alex said gently, but I think we should talk about it, at least a little. The girls are going to have more questions as time goes on. What exactly are you suggesting, Alex? Olivia asked directly, turning to face him. That we get married because it would be convenient for explaining things to the children? Because it's the traditional thing to do when expecting? No, Alex replied firmly. I would never propose marriage for those reasons. But I think we should acknowledge that our relationship has changed over these past months. We're not just co-parents. We're something more. Olivia's expression softened slightly. Yes, she admitted. We are. I care about you, Olivia, Alex continued, emboldened by her acknowledgement. I always have, even when I made choices that hurt you. And these past months, living partly in your home, sharing the daily rhythms of life with you and the girls, it's shown me what I was missing all those years ago. Alex, I'm not proposing, he interrupted gently. Not now, not like this. But I want you to know that I'm open to the possibility of us being more than co-parents, when and if you're ready to consider that. Olivia was quiet again, her hand absently stroking her rounded belly as she considered his words. I can't think about this right now, she finally said. The pregnancy, the girls, your transition into their lives, it's all I can manage. Adding romance to the mix feels overwhelming. I understand, Alex assured her quickly. There's no rush, no pressure. I just wanted to be honest about my feelings. I appreciate that, Olivia said sincerely, and I'm not saying never, just not yet. We need to focus on bringing these two into the world safely, she added, looking down at her stomach. Everything else can wait. Agreed, Alex said, relieved that she hadn't rejected the possibility outright. One challenge at a time. The next major milestone came in Olivia's 7th month, when her blood pressure spiked dangerously during a routine checkup. Marissa immediately admitted her to the hospital for observation and treatment. We need to get her blood pressure under control, she explained to Alex in the hospital corridor. If we can't, we may need to deliver early. But it's too soon, Alex protested, doctor and father warring within him. They need more time to develop. 30 weeks isn't ideal, Marissa acknowledged, but with good NICU care the prognosis is excellent, and severe preeclampsia poses serious risks to both Olivia and the babies. Alex spent that night in the uncomfortable chair beside Olivia's hospital bed, holding her hand as medications were administered to lower her blood pressure and corticosteroids to accelerate the baby's lung development, just in case early delivery became necessary. I'm sorry, Olivia whispered in the dimly lit room. I should have been more careful. This isn't your fault, Alex assured her firmly. Preeclampsia can happen to anyone, especially with a twin pregnancy. You've done everything right." Morning brought better news. Olivia's blood pressure had stabilized, and while Marissa insisted she remain hospitalized for continued monitoring, immediate delivery was no longer being considered. "We want to keep those babies inside as long as possible," she told them. "Every day matters for their development." With Olivia hospitalized, Alex's role expanded further. He moved temporarily into her house to maintain stability for Emma and Charlotte, arranging his work schedule to handle hospital administration remotely as much as possible. The girls, resilient as always, adapted to the new situation with remarkable flexibility, though they missed their mother acutely. "Can we visit Mom today?" became their daily question. Alex arranged hospital visits every afternoon after school, bringing handmade cards, artwork, and updates on their daily activities to brighten Olivia's sterile room. The twins chattered excitedly about their days, carefully avoiding topics that might worry their mother, showing a sensitivity beyond their years. "We're being extra good for Dad," Charlotte informed Olivia solemnly during one visit. "So he doesn't get too tired. He makes funny pancakes," Emma added with a giggle. "They're supposed to be animals, but they just look like blobs." "I'm working on my technique," Alex defended himself with a laugh, heart warming at the casual way they accepted him as Dad now, as if he had always been in their lives. The forced separation had an unexpected effect on Alex and Olivia's relationship. Their evening phone calls after the girls were asleep grew longer and more intimate. Without the distractions of daily life, they found themselves sharing memories, hopes, and fears in a way they hadn't before. "I was so angry when you chose the hospital over us," Olivia admitted one night, her voice soft over the phone line. "I thought I'd never forgive you." "I wouldn't have forgiven me either," Alex replied honestly. "I made the wrong choice. I see that so clearly now." "But if you hadn't," Olivia mused, "we wouldn't have Emma and Charlotte exactly as they are. Every choice, every path led to them, to this moment. I can't regret anything that brought those girls into the world." "They're perfect," Alex agreed. "All 4 of our daughters will be." "4 daughters," Olivia repeated with a tired laugh. "The Mitchell legacy in entirely feminine hands. What would your father say?" "He'd probably be horrified," Alex admitted. "But I've never been happier." 2 weeks into her hospital stay, Olivia's water broke unexpectedly in the middle of the night. Alex, having just returned home from a late evening visit, received the call from Marissa at 2 a.m. "It's time," she said simply. "The babies are coming. We're prepping her for delivery now." Alex called Olivia's mother, who arrived within 30 minutes to stay with the sleeping twins. Then he rushed to the hospital, heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and fear. 32 weeks was still early, but the odds were good with modern neonatal care. He arrived to find Olivia already in the delivery room, face pale but determined as contractions intensified. She reached for his hand as he entered, relief evident in her expression. "You made it," she said between carefully controlled breaths. "Wild horses couldn't have kept me away," Alex assured her, taking his place beside her and brushing damp hair from her forehead. The delivery was remarkably quick for a first-time twin birth. Within 2 hours, both baby girls had made their entrance into the world, small but perfect, with strong cries that brought tears to their parents' eyes. "They're beautiful," Alex whispered, watching as the NICU team efficiently examined and stabilized the newborns. At just over 4 pounds each, they would need some time in incubators, but their initial assessments were encouraging. "You should go with them," Olivia urged as the nurses prepared to transfer the babies to the NICU. "Stay with our daughters." Alex hesitated, torn between accompanying the newborns and remaining with Olivia. "I'll be back soon," he promised, squeezing her hand before following the incubators down the corridor. In the quiet, high-tech environment of the NICU, Alex stood between the 2 incubators, one hand resting gently on each, overwhelmed by the miracle of these tiny lives. Unlike with Emma and Charlotte, He was present from their very first breaths, witnessing the beginning of their journey in a way he had missed with his older daughters. "Welcome to the world, little ones," he whispered. "Your sisters are going to be so excited to meet you." Hours later, when Olivia was resting comfortably in her room and the newborns were stable in their incubators, Alex drove home in the early morning light to share the news with Emma and Charlotte. He found them at the breakfast table with their grandmother, already eager for updates. "You have 2 new baby sisters," he announced, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten in the joy of sharing this news. "They're very small, so they need to stay in special beds at the hospital for a while, but they're healthy and beautiful." "What are their names?" Emma demanded immediately. Alex smiled, recalling the names he and Olivia had finally agreed upon just days earlier. "Sophia Grace and Lily Hope Mitchell," he said proudly. "Mitchell like us?" Charlotte asked, her brow furrowing slightly. It was only then that Alex realized they had never discussed this particular detail with the twins. "Well," he began carefully, "your last name is Collins, like Mom. But yes, the baby's last name is Mitchell, like mine." "Why don't we have your last name?" Emma asked with the direct curiosity that was so characteristic of her. "Because when you were born, I wasn't there to give you my name," Alex explained honestly. "But you know what? Names aren't what make a family. Love is what makes a family. And I love all 4 of my daughters exactly the same, no matter what names they have." This answer seemed to satisfy them, though Alex made a mental note to discuss with Olivia whether they should consider adding Mitchell to the older twins' surnames at some point. Later that day, after naps and lunch, Alex took Emma and Charlotte to the hospital to meet their new sisters. Carefully coached on NICU protocols and the importance of quiet voices and clean hands, they approached the incubators with wide-eyed wonder. "They're so tiny," Charlotte whispered, peering at Lily's miniature features. "Were we that small?" Emma asked, fascinated by Sophia's perfect, diminutive fingers. "Not quite this small," Alex replied. "But yes, you were once this tiny. And look how big and strong you've grown. Your little sisters will too." Watching his 4 daughters in the same room for the first time, 2 healthy, curious 5-year-olds and 2 tiny newborns with their whole lives ahead of them, Alex felt a sense of completeness he had never known was possible. This was his family, his true legacy. Not a building with his name on it, not a prestigious title or a corner office, but these 4 remarkable girls and the extraordinary woman who had brought them into the world. As if sensing his thoughts, Olivia reached for his hand from her hospital bed. "We did it," she said softly. "All 6 of us, together." "Together," Alex agreed, squeezing her hand gently. "From now on, always together." If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.